Camus Mog's body was thrown, destroying everything in its path from the festival stalls to buildings. Dolores was wearing the Nighthound costume. She began to observe the rubble in silence. Not knowing what was happening or where someone as powerful as Camus Mog had come from, capable of summoning the undead. The people were somewhat surprised and everyone began to talk among themselves. With a surprised expression, a man started pointing at the rubble with his finger and asked his friend if she had seen the Nighthound. The friend turned towards him and with a confused look nodded her head. Among the crowd was Rose. With a smile, she took a bite of the fruit skewer and her eyes began to shine with satisfaction. Dolores approached the wall that was destroyed and began to inspect carefully. The man who was behind Rose became somewhat confused, turned to his friend, and asked why it smelled like a decomposing corpse. At first, the friend felt somewhat surprised but then said she didn't know. Dolores took off the Nighthound mask and her eyes widened with concern. After thinking calmly, her jaw dropped in surprise. Realizing that the Nighthound had taken Camus Mog somewhere else to avoid hurting the people at the festival. She clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and with a sad expression, concentrated, she began to pray for everything to go well and for the Nighthound not to be hurt. Wicca's attack was so powerful that Camus Mog's body was sent flying from the festival until it reached a nearby forest, destroying the trees in the area and creating a great curtain of smoke. Several seconds later, Camus Mog stood up, clenched her fists, and her eyes widened with joy as an excited smile spread across her face because she was happy to have encountered the Nighthound again. While Wicca's eyes were shining with hatred, he began staring at her and walking toward her. With a furious gaze, he decided it was time to say goodbye. Upon hearing this, Camus Mog started sweating and panicked, asking him to wait a moment since she wanted to talk to him. Wiccas did not lose a second and drew the Beelzebub sword. The blade began to release a powerful mana and our boy made it clear that he was not going to show any weakness like last time. Wiccas started walking towards her, ready to finish her off once and for all, but just before he could take another step, someone shouted that they were in the area. Upon hearing this, Camus Mog turned around and both she and Wiccas went into panic and confusion. It was a group of knights armed with spears. Seeing this, Camus Mog suggested going somewhere else. But Wiccas began to show the purple ring he wore on his finger and with a confident expression explained that there was no need for that. Wiccas' eyes began to shine with confidence. He activated the ring and revealed that he had a gift left by her comrade. It was the Divine Immortal's ring, which had the power to create a barrier. Wiccas activated the ring, causing a powerful flash to begin emerging from it. Camus Mog put her arms in front of her face to avoid going blind. They appeared in a completely different place, with swords stuck in the ground and several statues, among which were those of a child and a man. The statues were gigantic. Camus Mog and Wicca appeared in this strange place and remained silent. Wicca's attention was fixed on the statues, and his eyes widened with rage. The statues were of Hugo as a young man and Osiris when he was a child. This was a space that reflected the psychological state of settler Baskerville, whose body had been taken by the demon Andromelius. Camus Mog began to look around, and her eyes widened in surprise upon seeing that this was a barrier. She couldn't help but feel somewhat curious upon seeing statues of the Baskerville family. Her gaze fixed on Wicca, and her eyes began to shine with confidence since now she had no doubt that he was part of the Baskerville family. She began to gaze toward the ground and caught our boy's attention, asking him to take off his mask as she needed to check something. Wicca started observing her in silence, not knowing what she had in mind. Camus Mog's eyes filled with hatred and despair since, due to the rules of the contract, she could not take off her mask or reveal her identity, nor could she say her name to make herself known. She hoped that Wicca would cooperate with her. But once she raised her head, her eyes widened in confusion since our boy's sword was right in front of her. Luckily, she reacted in time, clenched her teeth, and moved away at the last second, dodging the attack. She panicked and asked our boy to wait. Wicca paid no attention and continued attacking. He started attacking her using the sword. But she summoned a barrier and began blocking the attacks. Vika's eyes began to shine with determination since he was not willing to leave her alive. This time, upon seeing our boy's expression, Camu Mog couldn't help but clench her teeth, and her eyes widened with concern, realizing that this was not good. With a piercing gaze, Vika lunged at her, ready to attack again. From her perspective, Vika was a monster. She couldn't keep up with him and would never have thought he had become this strong. Vika swung the sword forcefully, breaking the barrier she had summoned. Camu Mog put her arms in front of her head, and in the process, our boy's sword caused several cuts on her arms. Blood began to emerge from the wounds. She clenched her teeth tightly and could not help but feel somewhat furious. Her eyes began to shine with hatred, and her gaze fixed on Vika. She asked the demon Seer to let her borrow her power. Seer emerged, began to touch her lip with her finger, and with a curious expression asked how much power she needed. Without hesitating for even a second, Camu Mog said half, and upon hearing this, a wicked smile spread across Seer's face. Seer's eyes began to shine with joy, and with a smile. She said that in exchange she wanted half a day. Camu Mog started staring at Vika with an enraged expression and accepted without hesitation. They made a deal, and Camu Mog received half of Seer's power. She extended her hand toward Vika, and just before he could take another step, hands emerged from the ground and captured his legs. Our boy looked at the ground and couldn't help but fall into confusion. At that moment, a powerful magic circle appeared under his feet, and from it, the undead began to emerge. Our boy started staring silently at Camu Mog. She used Seer's power to summon a powerful giant monster with two heads behind her. She extended her hand toward Vika, and with a furious gaze, she made it clear that if he did not remove the mask, then she had no choice but to forcibly take it off. She commanded the monsters, who began to charge at our boy with ferocity. But just before they could take another step, time stopped and Vika attacked. He freed himself from the undead that had grabbed onto his legs, and with a murderous expression, he moved quickly. And using the Beelzebub sword, cut the monsters into pieces. And while they were falling to the ground, our boy started staring intently at Camu Mog, making it clear that he was not going to give up so easily. Camu Mog's eyes widened in surprise and fear. She panicked upon seeing that not even half of Seer's power was enough to stop Vika. She fell into despair and asked Seer to give her more power. As expected, the demon began to smile and in return said she wanted 16 hours. Camu Mog accepted again since she didn't care. Seer lent her more power. Camu Mog extended her hands and summoned a magic circle from which a powerful undead serpent made of skeletons emerged and began to advance quickly toward our boy. Vika reacted in time and grabbed the serpent by its fangs. Without much effort, he broke the serpent's fangs, and while his eyes were shining with rage, he started staring intently at Camu Mog. Upon seeing this, Camu Mog's eyes filled with surprise. She invoked another magic circle, clenched her teeth, and asked for more power again. Seer said that in exchange she wanted 20 hours. Camu Mog summoned another serpent and several monsters, but Vika moved quickly, swung the sword forcefully, and once again cut the monsters into pieces. Our boy's attention focused on her, and his mind filled with confusion upon seeing that these were careless attacks, realizing that she was trying to restrain him instead of attacking him. Upon seeing that the attack had failed again, Camu Mog's eyes began to shine with hatred. She could not understand why nothing seemed to work. She summoned another undead serpent. Vika jumped and once again tore the serpent apart as if it were nothing. Camu Mog lowered her head and asked for more power again. Who was beside her said she wanted 20 more hours. Camu Mog said she wanted even more power. The demon's eyes began to shine with wickedness, and a demonic smile spread across her face. In exchange for giving her more power, she wanted 20 more hours. Using the power of Seer, Camu Mog summoned a horde of ghosts which began to fly around our boy. Vika stood still without knowing what was happening. He clenched his fist and using all his strength struck the ghosts. In the blink of an eye, the horde of ghosts pounced on our boy, creating a great curtain of smoke. Camu Mog placed her hands on her knees and began to pant heavily. Saya, who was behind her, started to observe her with a curious expression. After catching her breath, she lifted her head and saw that the horde of ghosts was flying in the air, with Vikar's body trapped in the middle. She began to observe him and asked him to be good and take off his mask. Instead of responding, our boy started to gaze toward the ground in silence. Then his eyes began to shine with determination and his gaze fixed on Camu Mog. Using the sword, he freed himself from the ghost's bindings and descended elegantly to the ground. Camu Mog's attention was fixed on him and her eyes widened in surprise and confusion. Our boy cut the ghosts into small pieces, and while the fragments were falling to the ground, he stood up and began walking toward her. Seeing this, Camu Mog's mind filled with confusion as she did not know why Vikar was trying to kill her. Despite being wounded all over, Vikar did not stop and his eyes began to shine with hatred. A question came to Camu Mog's mind. She did not know what kind of hell our boy had been through to despise demons so much. In a desperate attempt, she summoned another magic circle, causing an undead to begin emerging from the ground. Our boy clenched his fist and prepared to put an end to this battle. From the depths of her heart, she hoped that Vikar would recognize her. She fell to her knees on the ground and begged Vikar to find her. At that moment, a large number of undead corpses emerged from the magic circle right in front of her. She created a barrier of undead between her and Vikar, then fell to her knees on the ground and lowered her head. She thought there was no way Vikar would recognize her anymore. But to her surprise, our boy decided to ask her a question. Upon hearing this, her eyes widened in surprise and confusion. Vikar asked why she was trying to subdue him instead of hitting him. Camu Mog lifted her head and began looking at the barrier without knowing what to say. Instead of trying to break the barrier, our boy stood still and asked why she wanted to take off his mask and why her eyes behind the mask were so sad. He soon realized that she wanted to tell him something but couldn't. She did not respond. Vikar gained momentum and delivered a strong punch to the barrier of the undead. Camu Mog closed her eyes, clenched her teeth, and prepared to face the cruel fate. After passing through the barrier, our boy gently struck Camu Mog's mask, causing it to slowly begin to break. The memories of when our boy was young came to his mind. In the past, when he was sparring and standing in front of a stone wall, he also thought this before: if he returned to her side, what would it mean? Vikar took off the mask, and while his eyes were shining with joy, with a smile he said that it had been a while. Camu Mog's mask broke into pieces and her eyes filled with tears and joy. Our boy saw little Camu Mog crying on her face. This is the end of the video. The festival was packed with people enjoying the night. People wore their favorite costumes, while some dressed up as superheroes, others dressed up as animals. Sayer and Rose approached a food stand without drawing attention and ordered the food they wanted to try. Rose ordered a fruit skewer and a cake filled with cream and strawberries. Her gaze fixed on the delicious food and her mouth watered, as she had never seen such delicious food. She took a bite of the fruit skewer and the cake. Seeing this, Sayer's eyes widened with joy. She began to stroke her head and, with a smile, asked if the food was delicious. Rose closed her eyes and nodded. Sayer turned around, and her gaze fixed on the others. Her eyes widened with curiosity as she remembered that this was a Halloween festival. While Rose was enjoying the food, Sayer began to observe the others in silence. She didn't know what would have happened if that incident had never occurred or if she had never made a contract with a demon. She began to imagine herself cheerfully chatting with Osiris, realizing that without the demon's help she would not have been able to enter the academy alongside Osiris. With a lost gaze, she began to look at the ground. Her eyes filled with sadness, but she decided to stop thinking about the matter since she had to verify it. She began to imagine Vikar staring at her with a murderous gaze. Our boy asked if the name of the demon with whom she had made a contract was Sayer, one of the 10 elite corpses. Her eyes began to shine, and with a curious and suspicious expression, she asked how Vikar knew this. For her, the Night Bloodhound was an unprecedented villain who had recently been painting fear into the city's nights. She could not believe that he knew about the existence of the 10 elite corpses. While the people were enjoying the festival, Say's gaze fixed on them. She began to observe in silence. And despite not knowing the reason, she was sure that the night bloodhound was obsessed with the demon Say that was inside her. So she knew that if she appeared in a place full of people like this, the night hound would appear. She placed her hand over her chest and couldn't help but feel fear when remembering a boy's swordsmanship. In the battle against Wicker, she tried to attack using a golem, but her boy cut it in half with a single strike with the help of the Beelzebub sword. In the past, when that incident occurred in the forest, she was saved by her uncle. The swordsmanship and the red aura that she had seen in her battle against Wicker had been similar to what she had seen in the battle of that night. To know if her instinct was correct, she had to remove the mask from the night bloodhound. She placed her hand over her chest and with a lost expression began to think of the worst. She did not know what would happen if the night bloodhound was really that boy. She did not know what that boy would say if he saw her now nor how he might have changed. Upon seeing her attitude, the attention of one of the men who was walking around the area focused on her, his eyes filled with confusion as he did not know what was happening. Camus could not help but get excited as she really wanted to see that boy, but just then, a voice interrupted her thoughts, asking her to stop thinking about that. A blue-haired woman wearing a hood appeared and began to whisper, advising her to stop thinking about those feelings that caused her a headache, promising that she would take care of everything. Upon hearing this, Camus came out of her thoughts and her eyes widened in surprise and fear. It was night and the moon was high in the sky. The hooded woman with blue hair had angel wings. She began to gaze at Camus in silence, and it did not take her long to realize that time was frozen, and apart from the demon Sayer and Camus, no one could move. The demon began to observe Camus in silence. Camus placed her hand on her chest and sank into her thoughts. She raised her head and with a furious gaze asked if this was not a clear breach of contract. The demon Sayer became curious and said nothing. Camus reminded her that the contract they had made stated that in exchange for borrowing her strength, when she died, she would give. She revealed that the moment the demon Sayer desired it, she could take control of her body for only 1 hour. The demon Sayer remained watching Camus in silence, not knowing what to say. Camus' eyes began to shine with seriousness. She turned her back on the demon and asked her to leave here, and also advised her to stop deluding herself into thinking she could control her as she wanted. The gaze of the demon Sayer fixed on her. She sank into her thoughts and couldn't help but go into shock. Then her eyes began to shine with evil, and a demonic smile spread across her face, showing her true nature. She got rid of the disguise she was wearing and began to transform. Angel wings disappeared, making a demon tail appear. Her hair turned blue and long, and horns grew on her head. Sayer was a demon with 3 eyes. She approached Camus, placed her hands on her shoulders, and while her eyes were shining with evil, with a smile, she asked what she could do alone. Reminding her that her loved ones were gone and she had not been able to do anything to save them. Camus' eyes were full of determination. She clenched her fists and did not fall into the demon's trap. Sayer's eyes widened with malice, and with a smile, she reminded Camus that she had stabbed the heart of her uncle who took care of her. And everything she had done on her own had been a disaster. Camus tried not to lose composure and with a lost expression began to gaze at the ground. Time had stopped just before Rose could eat the fruit skewer. Sayer made it clear that thanks to her, Camus had been able to find her little sister, revealing that her ability allowed Camus to see the person she wanted to meet. Camus put her hand on her shoulder to remove Sayer's hands, clenched her fist, and asked why she had not been able to find the most important person. Sayer moved away from her, and her eyes filled with confusion and surprise. Camus did not raise her head and explained that the main reason she had made a contract with Sayer had been to find that boy's corpse. Sayer placed her hands on her shoulders again and became curious. Camus mentioned that she had not been able to find that boy, even though she had searched in the waters of the Red and Black Mountain for the last 2 years. Camus' eyes began to shine with hatred. She turned towards the demon and, with a suffocating gaze, ordered her not to stand in her way since she had finally found a clue that could allow her to see that person again. Camus began to concentrate to avoid falling into Sayre's trap, and little by little, time resumed its course. Camus began to pant heavily because she was exhausted. Sayre's gaze fixed on her, and her eyes filled with hatred. She was furious to see that Camus' mind was strong and had not yet been completely destroyed. Just then, the demon Sayre turned around, and her eyes began to shine with curiosity. Her attention was fixed on one of the stalls. She could smell the blood of a demon. She felt someone ominous. Sayre wiped her chin with her hand and with an unpleasant expression, advised Camus to flee since the air reeked of that disgusting aura that was unique to a demon hunter. Upon hearing this, Camus' eyes widened in surprise, leaving her in shock. Then, she clenched her teeth tightly and couldn't help but feel furious. Without losing another second, she started running towards the stall, knowing that person was there. The eyes of the demon Sayre filled with confusion. She could not believe that instead of fleeing, Camus wanted to go to the stall from where the aura of the demon hunter came. With a furious gaze, she asked what Camus was doing. She did not stop and continued running with all her strength towards the stall, thinking that the aura must be from the bloodhound. She made her way through the crowd. And despite the fact that the demon Sayre was asking her not to go, she paid no attention. Just then, someone launched fireworks into the sky, creating a beautiful spectacle. Camus began to pant heavily, and her eyes widened in surprise, and her gaze fixed on someone wearing the mask of the night bloodhound. She was near Wicker's stall and the others. And while the sky was filled with fireworks, at the entrance there were two people conversing with each other. Camus' attention fixed on them, and her eyes expanded in surprise, as she could not believe that the night bloodhound was a woman. The one wearing the night hound costume was none other than Dollars. She closed her eyes and with a kind smile asked the man to keep in mind that if he could not follow the rules, he would be expelled, so she asked him to enjoy his stay. A smile spread across Camus' face when she realized that Dollars was dressed as the night hound. Her eyes began to shine with hatred. She extended her hand towards Dollars and began to use mana. She was furious as this was very annoying. Without hesitating for a second, she raised her hand to the sky and consumed by rage, placed it on the ground, causing her mana to begin spreading across the floor, creating a powerful magic circle. The spell was so powerful that a giant circle expanded through the area, and not long after, skeletons began to emerge from the ground. Dollars' gaze fixed on them, and her eyes widened in confusion as she did not know what was happening. In an instant, several skeletons emerged from the ground and surrounded Sancho and Piggy, who clenched their fists without knowing what was happening. A horde of skeletons started chasing the people, who could not help but cry and feel fear, knowing that they were undead. The skeletons began to approach Bianca and Tudor. He clenched his fists, and with a confused expression asked if the woman wearing a mask had summoned these undead soldiers. Bianca took a defensive stance and mentioned that black magic was strictly controlled by the Empire, and was considered taboo. Upon hearing this, Tudor quickly realized that this woman was a villain. Little by little, more skeletons began to emerge from the ground, ready to attack. But just then, someone used divine power and purified the undead soldiers. It was Dollars. She extended her hand toward the sky, and while her body was releasing sacred light, with a determined gaze, she asked all the members of Lucan to assist her in keeping the stall's customers safe. Upon hearing this, Tudor, Sancho, and Piggy's eyes began to shine with seriousness. Anna was hiding behind the sign. Dollars' gaze fixed on her, and she asked Anna to go find a professor. Upon hearing this, Anna started sweating and with a confused gaze asked what she intended to do. Dollars asked her not to worry about it. She joined her hands and her eyes began to shine with confidence since her specialty was fighting against the undead. Camus dropped upon seeing divine power, realizing that this was going to be annoying. With a furious gaze, she gave the order to Dollars not to get in her way since she had to meet the true Night Hound. Dollars joined her hands and while releasing divine power, asked why she wanted to meet the night hound. Camus stood up and asked what relationship she had with the night bloodhound. Upon hearing this, Dolla's eyes began to shine with determination. She concentrated and started staring at Camus in silence. With a confident expression, she revealed that she and the night hound were soulmates. Camus began to imagine Wicker and Dollars together and happy. Her eyes started to shine with hatred and she couldn't help but get angry. She reached out toward Dollars and swore to shatter her soul until turning her into an undead soldier. She commanded the soldiers, making a horde of skeletons start charging toward her. Dollars extended her hands toward the skeletons and used her divine power. With a confident gaze, she swore not to lose against them. Just before the skeletons could take another step, someone attacked with a powerful wave of mana, breaking them into pieces. Dollars put her arms in front of her face and her eyes widened in surprise and confusion. The person who had attacked was none other than Sinclair. She was holding a magic staff and her eyes were glowing with seriousness. Dollars panicked, reached out to the side and with a worried expression asked her to flee to a safe place since this was dangerous. Sinclair stood in front of her and refused, asking her not to worry about her. Sinclair's eyes began to shine with determination and her gaze fixed on Camus. She revealed that she didn't know why, but her instinct told her that she had to fight. Camus lost composure and attacked, creating a powerful burst of mana in front of them. Dollars and Sinclair panicked, not knowing what was happening. Just before the attack could hit, Sinclair used her powers and summoned a barrier, protecting herself and Dollars from the attack. Camus extended her hand toward them and began to release more mana. Her eyes widened with hatred, making it clear that the only thing she wanted to do was see the night hound, advising that if they did not want to die then they should call him and ask him to come here. Dollars extended her hands to assist Sinclair. Sinclair, who was blocking the attack, couldn't help but clench her teeth upon seeing that Camus could summon undead and on top of that use fire magic of this caliber. She didn't know how much mana she had. Just then, the barrier she had invoked to block the attack began to crack. The attention of both was fixed on it, and their eyes widened in surprise and fear. Someone wearing boots appeared. Camus continued attacking, and little by little they began to approach her. Her eyes expanded in surprise, making her jaw drop. She couldn't help but be in shock. Her strands of hair began to float. And then, the real night hound appeared and with a penetrating gaze attacked Camus. She put her arms in front of her chest and blocked the attack. Her eyes expanded with joy. And a smile appeared on her face upon seeing that he had come. Just before she could finish the sentence, Wicker began to extend his hand toward her with a murderous look. Our boy grabbed her by the neck and threw her backward, making her body shoot out, crashing into the stalls and destroying everything in its path. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, so subscribe to our channel, share the video, and like.